Hello everybody, my name is Marvin Davis with Fidelis Water Refined. Today we're going to do the sales presentation. By the end of this presentation, you'll know how basically how to interact with customers and do each test and have a lot of fun doing it, because that's the main purpose, getting the information out, keeping your clients engaged, and having a lot of fun when you're out there selling and changing people's lives. So we're going to start off with the TDS test. The TDS meter gives us a numeric value for the quality of water. See, the lower the number, the better the quality. The higher the number, the lower the quality. So think about it like golf and Tiger Woods. Low number, yeah. High number, not so good, right? So we brought our own bottle of water, purified water, just to show you the differences. If you don't mind, can you read that number from the bottom up? 002. That's pretty pure. Now, we all know the Earth's natural cycle to cleanse water is evaporation, right? It's the hydrological cycle. Water evaporates, goes up to the clouds, and at that point it's pretty pure. And it comes back down, it picks up smog, dust, and other airborne impurities. After about 15 to 20 minutes, this washes the majority of those impurities away. What we didn't know was how low the TDS meter would read after 20 minutes of rainfall. So one of our guys one day, it was raining for 20 minutes. He ran outside of his apartments, went straight to the gutter, and he tested it. And we were surprised to see it come out as low as 15 parts per million. So if purified water is 2 and rainwater is 15, what do you think your tap water is going to be? If it was 50, you'd see me a whole lot more often. I'd be unemployed, probably holding a sign up in the street saying, "Will work for food." I like food. So let's take a look. What's that read number now? What's that number read now?
260.
260. That's why I'm here today, to show you what that number is. You ever watch a show called CSI? Where they walk into a room and they think maybe some type of crime has happened, but there's no visible evidence. So they'll go into that room, they'll spray luminol throughout the whole room, turn off the lights, and turn on a black light, giving them a starting point for their investigation. Wherever there's blood, splatter, or saliva, it'll glow. So the next test is precipitation test. Is basically luminol for water, except for we're not looking for blood, splatter, or saliva in your water. I'm pretty sure that's not in there. What we are looking for is we're looking for solid matter. So we're going to use these two chemicals, hydroxyquinone sulfate and potassium hydroxide. When these two chemicals come together inside of your water, it'll grab onto all the solid matter, causing it to fall out of solution so you can see it. So the first sample of water I'm going to give you today is your water, untreated, straight from the tap. And the second sample of water I'm going to give you today is your water ran through an ionic bed of resin. So see these beads right here? See how they're all playful and jumpy and stuff? They're just happy to see you. No, they're supercharged with negative ionic charge. And what they're looking for is they're looking for the positively charged particulates that are in your water. So works just like a magnet. You know, you have negatively charged resin beads, and you have positively charged particulates that have been dissolved that are in your water. So as the water passes through the resin bed, they stick together, negative side to the positive side, allowing the water to flow through the other side free of any foreign particles. So the second sample of water I'm gonna give you today is your water, treated. Then we're gonna use 10 drops of hydroxyquinone sulfate and 10 drops of potassium hydroxide. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This test takes a little bit of time to develop. while this is developing, I have a quick question for you. Does water conduct electricity?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely right. If you're outside a swimming pool and a lightning storm happened, what would your mother tell you to do?
Get out of the pool.
You better get out and get out fast. Otherwise you get lit up like a light bulb. But what if water was free of all foreign particles, chemicals, metals, and minerals? You ever watch one of those movies where somebody's bathing in a bathtub and somebody else slips in there with a dryer, turns it on, and they get electrocuted? Well, if you're bathing in purified water and that person slipped in there with a dryer, turned it on, you can get out, chase it down, and give them a piece of your mind. See, water doesn't conduct electricity unless we put something in it. So, let's put something in it. This test we're going to do is a gross test. That's why I brought my own glass, because this test is gross. Do you guys remember what that purified water was? 002. Right. So I have a dollar bill here, and if you can look right here, it'll tell you the series it was or what year it was made.
2013.
2013, and it came all the way from
West Virginia.
West Virginia. So how many figures do you think this has touched this dollar bill crossing states since 2013?
5,000?
Thousands, right? Yeah. And, do you think everybody washed their hands?
No.
It's pretty gross, isn't it? Don't tell the government, but we're going to launder some money today. So we're going to go ahead and get that dollar bill in there and scrub it all around. Squeeze that guy out. Now, let me ask you something. After we wash this dollar bill and it started off at 2, what do you think the TDS meter is going to read?
30?
30? That's a pretty good guess. Right at 29. Yeah. So, reads right at 29. You want a sip? No, I wouldn't drink that either. We don't know what kind of hands touched that or where that dollar bill's really been, right? But the reason why I contaminated that water today was to show you how the city treats water.
It is designed to clean. In the clouds, it's fairly pure. As it falls to the ground in droplets, the pure water dissolves and carries away whatever is in the air it passes through. Smog, chemicals, dirt, smoke. Once on the ground, the water runs down mountains, through valleys like a little magnet, picking up and carrying away a little bit of everything it touches. Agricultural waste, industrial waste, all kinds of waste. Obviously, the city winds up with some pretty polluted water to process. They don't have the money to take everything out.
At the second bin, this is where they test the water based off of EPA guidelines and standards. Now, the EPA regulates what the city tests for. They have over 3 pages of things that the city will test for to see if any of these things exceed the maximum allowable limit. Now, if they find something that's exceeded the maximum allowable limit, they have 2 ways to handle that. The first way they do it is they use chemical treatment. They'll take chemicals and suppress the problem to an acceptable standard. The second way they can do it, which is more popular use, is where they do a process called blending. And what they do is they take body water A that has problem 1 and body water B that may have problem 5, and they say, well, each one of them don't have the same problem, so they're able to blend those 2 waters together, diluting the problem to an acceptable standard. Since all we have here is a little, all we have to do is disinfect the fingers that touch this dollar bill. I know what the challenge is. I can treat it with just a couple drops of iodine. Now, inside the second bin, inside these bins, they have these huge arms and they have paddles on them. So as they dump a solution in there or a treatment process in there, those paddles will spin rapidly, ensuring 2 things. 1, that the chemicals are diluted, and 2, that the whole body of water has been sanitized. After they've treated the water at the second bin, they send it off to the third bin. And the third bin is where they chlorinate the water, and they always chlorinate the water.
Then they dump a bunch of chemicals, like chlorine, that are designed to kill off the worst of the bacteria.
Now let me ask you something. Would you drink the water if it looked like this? No way. So with just a couple drops of chlorine, we could take the water from looking like this back to the way it did when it was in the bottle. Quick question for you. Did I take anything out? Absolutely not. Can't lie to the meter. What is that number reading now? 90. What's the difference between 90 and 260? Well, it's all of this. We started with water from a bottle, purified water, free of all foreign particles, chemicals, metals, and minerals. Which water did you start with? Well, you started with water from Edwards Aquifer. Now, Edwards Aquifer, it's an amazing groundwater resource. It is a bed of limestone underground, and it has pockets and pores. And as the water seeps down into the pockets and pores, it actually acts as a natural filtration. And that's where the water gets stored, in those pockets and pores. But water being the universal solvent that it is, it will literally dissolve the rock as it sits inside those pockets and pores. Now, Edwards Aquifer, as amazing as it is, and as much as we would like to pull all of our water from Edwards Aquifer, the demand for the water here in the San Antonio metropolitan area is just too high. You look at this one pumping station, it's 13,000 square feet, and it pumps 10 million gallons of water a day. That's just one pumping station. The demand for water here in the metropolitan area is just too much for Edwards Aquifer to support the whole metropolitan area. So they have to use other water resources. They use other lakes and also reservoirs to supplement the water that we get from Edwards Aquifer. Remember we talked about earlier, blending. Since Edwards Aquifer is such a great water to use, they use Edwards Aquifer to blend with other waters that have challenges like lakes or reservoirs. Now, water being the universal solvent, like I said earlier, as it passes over rock, it'll literally dissolve it. If you ever been to the Colorado River, you might have asked yourself, why does this look like an Oreo cookie? That's because as the water passed over the rock, it dissolved the soot, rock, and dust. Water is such a powerful substance. Now, it's the cleaning agent. That's what we all use to clean. We use water to wash our countertops, to wash our floors. We know it picks up dust. Sometimes we even take it for granted how well it works, that solvent. But water works really good on soft surfaces, but what people don't know is how well it works on hard surfaces. Think about the Grand Canyon. As the water passed through the canyon over and over again, years later, it literally washed all that rock away. And now we have an amazing place to go visit. People fly from all over the world to see the beautiful terrain that the water made at the canyon. So think about it. SAWS has to deal with that as they're pulling water from different reservoirs that also has calcium, magnesium, and the water that comes from Edwards Aquifer that's full of calcium, magnesium. They have to deal with those challenges each and every day. One time we got an opportunity to see them as they were replacing this pipe, and we went down there to see which pipe they replaced. It was really cool to see the inside of that pipe. So all that rock has to go somewhere. Some of that rock ends up here in their pipes, but what doesn't end up there in their pipes ends up here in your pipes. See, what doesn't end up here in your pipes on the way to your home ends up coming out of here, right out of your faucet. And what doesn't end up coming out of what comes out of your faucet affects everything inside your home. You've seen it before. It's all over your fixtures. It's all over your shower heads, sink lines, like for your kitchen sink. It's on your glassware. This is the glass that you wipe off with a towel before you give it to your guests, because you would never hand it to them like that. You want it to look like this. It's all over your shower doors. It affects your dishwasher. It affects all of your cookware and your pans, everything that you wash with. Now you got a couple choices when you're doing your dishes. See, you either choose to use soaps that have chemicals to help fight this stuff off so your dishes don't quite look this bad, or you go the healthier route and you now have a lot of calcium buildup left behind, but your soaps and detergents don't work as well. You have a choice, and people decide, and they have to make a decision based off their water quality. Everything your water touches is affected by what's in your water. Even your ice, your refrigerator, right? It makes ice. And take a look. Which one do you think is a purified one? This one or that one?
One, am I right?
Absolutely right. See, so purify, whenever you change the temperature of water, you cause it to precipitate. So all that calcium, magnesium doesn't freeze right away. The water starts to freeze and it pushes the calcium, magnesium to the center. And that's why you can see the center edges around this ice cube are clear. But as you get to the middle, all that calcium, magnesium, and all the other particulates and stuff that's in your water that doesn't freeze right away is actually frozen later on because it freezes at a different temperature. Okay? So whenever you change the temperature of water, you cause it to precipitate. You're gonna hear me say that a few times a day, okay? Because you're gonna see it many different times. We take the same ice cubes, you throw them in a glass, put them in a microwave, and boil them for 3 minutes. Rapid temperature change, right? In a microwave, and look what happens. You do the same test that we did right here. We just did this one with chemicals. You do a precipitation test with heat. Whenever you change temperature of water, you cause it to precipitate. So right. Not only is precipitation an issue, calcium, magnesium, there's other issues. Why is this faucet green? Well, you have other things. The city treats the water with what? Chlorine and chemicals, right? And there's also pH levels of your water. So that also is affected. You know, like Orange County, the residents there went to go sue the city because they were getting pinholes in their copper pipes and their fixtures, and it was causing them leaks. But the city was only doing their job. They have to disinfect the water. And actually, the chlorine protects the water all the way to your house. If you were to have a breach in the pipe and some type of feces from a deer or dog or animal got in there, the chlorine would actually fight that off for you all the way to the front door. But once it's at your front door, the best thing to do is get rid of it. But as you can see, it causes different types of corrosion and problems. And again, back to your water on tap from the EPA, it talks about the water a typical homeowner uses, pays for. It's never even used. It leaks right down the drain. And if you notice, he's replacing the rubber grommets. So if you can imagine, like, what does chlorine do to rubber? Yeah, it would disintegrate it. Yeah, deteriorate it, causing leaks. And we see that really clear in this fixture. Calcium, magnesium causes precipitation with heat. That's, as you can see, the hot water side has more buildup, more breakdown from calcium. But if you look at the cold water side, what does it have? Corrosion. And the copper is broken down and the water's leaking here from the rubber grommets. So calcium, magnesium is not your only challenge when you're thinking about your water quality for your home. Okay. Once it breaks down the inside of the faucet, what does it do? Ends up on your outside of your faucet. After it ends up on the outside of your faucet, it's going to end up here on granite. And most people, they really get frustrated when this happens because granite's expensive. And you can't just cut out a piece of granite and replace it, right? Because it will never match again. It's like a thumbprint. Two parts will never meet again. So if you take a look, calcium, magnesium, and chlorine, it's like a 1-2 punch. The chlorine will kill the upper surface, breaking it down. The calcium, magnesium reaches down to the pores of the granite. It takes a little bit of that granite with it each and every time. I always tell people, if you see calcium, magnesium on your granite, do not scrub it with any abrasive cleaners or use any green scratch pads. Although it's tough, soak it. You actually need to just take purified water, pour it on the back of it, and it'll take the calcium magnesium off. But it takes a time that it has to soak. So put it on a washcloth and leave it on the back of your granite. Come here, take a look. Fill your granite right here. See how smooth that is? And then if you fill in the back right here, right next to your faucet, you can feel the grit and the grime that's already starting to happen. That's because your faucet splashes right here each and every day. And it's already starting to take its effects. Think about your hot water heater. This is 1 ounce. 1 ounce. And look at that. Look how much we have at the bottom. But hot water heaters come in many different sizes. The most common size is 50, 75, and 100 gallon water heaters, depending on the size of your house, the demand that you have. And it heats from the bottom up. Okay? So think about that. If you were to cut your hot water in half right now, you probably could reach down at the bottom and pull this stuff out by the handfuls. If you were to cut your hot water heater in half from the top down, you would see the layers sitting at the bottom of your hot water heater. And no matter how good what the energy efficiency guide tells you, right? How efficient do you think the energy is going to be if you have to heat through rock first before you heat your water? Some people want to save money. So they'll go in there and they'll do what we call liposuction in hot water here. That's what I need, liposuction. Take all that stuff out. It really, if you ever watch the TLC channel, it really looks like liposuction, where they're just taking fat out of the hot water heater. It's pretty gross.
Out of all the sediment in the bottom of it. After you cut the electricity, remove the element which sometimes can snap off, you get a hollow pipe and get it down in there, and it'll just jam up into the hollow pipe. And in this particular one, we pulled out probably 30 pounds of hard water sediment.
Did you hear that? 30 pounds of hard water sediment. That's a Thanksgiving turkey. If you have a Thanksgiving turkey at the bottom of your hot water heater, it's probably going to make some noise.
Here's a water heater, and you can hear the little rocks inside, the noise that it makes.
So what that is, that's all that calcium magnesium settled at the bottom, and just massive amounts of it. And over time, heat and pressure causes these little pebbles to form, and they just start shooting off like little rockets inside there. And you can just hear them going. Now, there's some secret truths. So a lot of times you go buy a hot water heater, you go buy an appliance, and if it has water run through it, you have to really pay attention. You have to read the fine print. For this hot water heater by Renault, it tells you all this good stuff. Heat exchange, 10 years. It'll cover you for 5 years on all other parts and components. Reasonable labor for 1 year. Feels like a pretty reasonable warranty. But they know most of America has hard water, okay? They know they have calcium, magnesium. They know they have chemicals. They know they're dealing with these different challenges. But if you keep on reading, on page 43, in the fine print, they'll tell you what this warranty does not cover any failures or operating difficulties due to the following. Read this. Improper maintenance, such as, but not limited to, scale buildup. Isn't that this? They know you have it in your water. Okay. Any damage caused by poor water quality. Limited warranty does not cover a product in an application that uses chemically treated water. Refer to the water quality section in the operation and installation manual. All kinds of hidden truths. What about tea? You go boil a glass of water, put your little tea bag in there, right? Which tea is yours? Does your tea look like this or like this?
My left.
The one on the left, right? Yeah. Which one do you think is purified water?
One on the right.
Absolutely. Which one do you think Lipton put on the front of their box?
Probably the one on the right.
Yeah, they didn't use tap water. They would never sell another bag of tea. Look at that. If you take a look, whenever you change the temperature of water, what do you cause it to do? Precipitate or separate, right? You separate all the chlorine, calcium, magnesium, all that stuff, okay? But look at it. Look at the difference. Your water doesn't do this. Your tea does not do this. Water doesn't do this. Tea doesn't do this. It's what's in the water that does that. It's the calcium. It's the magnesium. It's the chlorine. It's all the other stuff. And how do you think that tastes?
Pretty bad.
If you're a tea drinker, you should know it touches your lips every day, right? But people use a lot more creams and sugars to try to overcome that flavor. Like if you were to reach down there with your finger, you could break it apart like a spider web and it would just come out on the tip of your finger. And then you wonder why you have to scrub your dishes or your dishwasher doesn't work as well. It's not only that your dishwasher has calcium, magnesium in the water that it's using, but it's also having to clean glasses that you made drinks with that had calcium, magnesium, chlorine, and other stuff in it. So it has to fight twice as hard. Look at what it has to clean before it cleans. There's some other hidden truths. What about chlorine? There are also some hidden facts about chlorine that you can read more about in your consumer confidence report. Now, some people say, I don't drink the water, or tap water, so, chlorine doesn't bother me. I always ask, do you shower and bathe in it? Yeah, you and I both know it goes way beyond just drinking tap water. What adverse effects does chlorine have on your hair and skin?
It dries it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I have here is I have a reagent. This is OTO solution, orthodonylene. You can get it for a swimming pool, right at Home Depot or Lowe's, or a pool supply store. Okay. Now, this reagent only reacts to chlorine. So remember, this is purified water. We had it earlier today, right? Poured that earlier today. Now, so if there's no chlorine, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It'll stay clear. You'll get no reaction, right? But if chlorine is present, we should get a reaction. It should turn yellow and God forbid orange, but it should turn yellow. If the city has done their job, we should get a chlorine reading. Sometimes the city doesn't chlorinate enough, and that's a bigger issue than if we do find chlorine. So what we're actually looking for is chlorine in your water and to make sure that you have enough to disinfect your water and not too much. Okay? So with just a few drops, we should see a reaction. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And what we're looking for is a good, consistent yellow color to ensure we got the proper amount of chlorine in our water and it's not too much. Right? So it's a little high, but not overwhelming. So that's really good. Okay? This test, I want you to take a sip of that water, swish it around in your mouth, okay? Just a little bit at a time. Go ahead. Just like when you brush your teeth this morning, but this time I want you to actually swallow it. Swallow it. Nice, clean, clear, and crisp, okay? And now the next sample of water I'm going to give you is your water straight from the tap. And this time, just like when you brushed your teeth this morning, I want you to make sure you take all